where, you know, we were on the road in our car and we saw a bear. That happens. I know some people are going to be like, oh my goodness, that's too much. It's all lies. I know. How's it going? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Boma, and on this channel we talk about how to thrive, succeed, and kill it, and just be your best self as an immigrant in Canada. And in today's video, I am answering some of the questions that you guys have asked me about immigrating to Canada. I'm pretty good. I think I try my best to answer, all the questions that I get on my channel, but some of the questions I get obviously need a bit more in-depth of a response than I can, type on YouTube. So in this video, I'm answering all your questions about Canadian immigration. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Thanks for doing that. Let's get started. I've got my phone here because I'll be using it to look at your questions. This question is from Evangel that says, thanks a lot. I will study in BC with a student visa. I'm alone with a child that's 14 years old. For that reason, I need to start with a business to cover all the expenses. Is it necessary to have a truck for transportation? How much should I earn by cleaning an apartment or a house? Thanks a lot. That is a very good question. International students are able to start a business in Canada. You don't have to be a resident to start a business in Canada. Canada is pretty flexible in terms of who can and cannot be a business owner, shareholder, etc. in the country. So you're good to go on that front. The complication arises in how much you're earning from this business. Obviously, as an international student, there are restrictions and limitations on how much you can work while you're a student, because the understanding from the Canadian government is that if you're here on a student visa, your primary purpose of being in the country is to study. So working full-time during the school year is not really a possibility. Most of the time, you're kind of restricted to around 20 or so hours per week for work. And of course, that's more than enough in terms of being a cleaner as well. A cleaner can make pretty decent money. Working 20 hours per week. I would say where I live in BC, I'm not sure what city you're going to be living in, but I would say on average in BC, just based on my experience having a cleaning company, I would say that most cleaners are earning around $25, $28, even $30 per hour, depending on your qualifications, your skills, and also maybe depending on the company you work for. But I'll say you can expect to earn at least $25 to $28 per hour for cleaning. I know some people are gonna be like, oh my goodness, girl, I know you're lying. There's no way a cleaner can earn $25 per hour, $28 per hour. I'm not. I know that yes, there are cleaning companies that are paying their employees like $15 an hour, $16, $18 an hour. That is not my experience. I've always been really proud of the fact that, I'm paying my cleaners pretty good. Some of my cleaners are earning $28, $30 an hour. They are amazing. So you can expect to obviously earn a lot if you're good at your job. In terms of how much you earn per house, again, it depends on how big the house is, how dirty the house is. Obviously, if you're a person who's going in and cleaning a house that's like 5 hours and you're working for yourself, then, 28 by 5, whatever the math is how much you'll be earning. So there's a lot of numbers that are up in the air because it really depends on your skills, depends on who you're working for, if you're working for yourself or working for, a company. But I would say cleaning while being a student is actually pretty good. Many students work as cleaners during the school year or outside the school year. I haven't seen many international students who start their cleaning companies. I'm sure they're out there, but I have not seen them. Typically, they choose to work as employees instead. Good luck. I hope that answered your question. In Google Netzer, funny name, says, sadly, the IEC polls for 2021 are still not open because of the pandemic. That is true. I made a video and I'll put a link above talking about the Holiday Work and Visa program in Canada. IEC is also known as International Experience Canada. And yes, you're correct. That pool is still not open. I mentioned in that video that once it opens up, I will do a follow-up video just letting you know to, apply. So it's not open, but we're only like 6 weeks, I guess, into the new year. So I'm hoping that it will open soon and I'll make a follow-up video. The next question says, I'm moving to Canada with my parents and siblings. My parents are not very well educated and I'm only 16. None of my siblings are over 18. Do you have any good advice or tips? Good jobs. We're not very good with money either. This is a good question because I think a lot of immigrants who move to Canada with their families can maybe relate to this on some level. I know I can. So when my family moved here, I was living in the US at the time, a lot of school, but my two youngest sisters were I think 16 and 18 or 15 and 17. I think 15 and 17. And so, they did what many Canadian kids at 15 and 17 do. They got a job at McDonald's. And so that would be my advice to you if you're wanting to move to Canada and you're not too sure about your work situation, you're not too sure about your family's money situation. I would get a job. Fast food places are always hiring young people, so if you're under 18, I'm sure McDonald's or some other fast food company will happily hire you. And that's what my sisters did for about 2 years or so while they were still in high school and just kind of going into college, I guess. Alternatively, you can also work in retail, so work in the mall or work in some random store somewhere. Those types of stores also hire young people all the time. And in terms of your family's money situation, I've got lots of videos on my channel about budgeting and finance. That's a topic that you'll need to bring up with your family because life in Canada is expensive. Life in Canada is just ridiculously expensive. So, many immigrants are often living paycheck to paycheck and trying to, scrap by to pay the bills, especially rent because rent is expensive. So I hope that was helpful. But in summary, get a job in fast food, get your parents support from immigrant agencies as well, because those agencies, depending on, do they speak English, do they have work experience, those sort of agencies can really help them to improve their skills in Canada and get jobs in Canada. But for you as a young person in Canada, you're good to Canada, but for you as a young person, get a job in fast food or somewhere else if you don't want fast food. Lots of places love hiring young people. Okay. Good luck. The next question is from Irabosa Blessing Abons. I think this person is Nigerian, just like me. It says, okay, flu is unavoidable, slipping is unavoidable, then why should polar bears be left on the streets to be a threat to lives? This was a video I did about the things that can kill people in Canada. For context, polar bears are not on the street. I've actually never seen a polar bear in my life. That video I made, I talked about the fact that polar bears are actually quite deadly and can be actually quite vicious and savage. I have seen black bears and brown bears on the street. not on the street, but like on the road. Not on the street, like walking and I encountered a bear. No, not like that, but like on the road. I posted in that video, I showed a little clip where, we were on the road in our car and we saw a bear. That happens. A bear. People also see black and brown bears in their backyard, like the bear can maybe sometimes go into your garbage if your garbage is not secured properly. So those are the types of bears that most Canadians will encounter more casually. Polar bears, on the other hand, you kind of have to be in a very cold region, I think like up north or something. I don't even know where you get polar bears in Canada, but I know that they exist and they're in very, very cold parts of Canada. So you really don't want to see a polar bear in a casual way. There will be nothing casual about that encounter. So I hope that context is helpful. Sandra Baboa says, Boma, please, which of the cheapest schools gives work permit also? Pretty much every school that is accredited will give you a work permit after you're done. So I assume you're talking about the postgraduate work permit. Again, go to an accredited school, get your diploma or your degree, and afterwards you should be getting a postgraduate work permit to be able to work in Canada. The schools I listed in the low tuition videos are all eligible to give you a postgraduate work permit, so you don't have to be that picky in terms of the schools that will or will not give you. Obviously, don't go to a sketchy school. And in the past few years, there have been, a few news articles about schools that actually were not registered and were charging tuition and luring international students into Canada. So make sure you do your due diligence. If a school's tuition is really low, make sure you do your research to make sure that they're actually registered, because you never know. This question is from Cijo that says, what industry are you in? Also, I'm applying for my Master's of Social Work degree in Canada. Do you have any advice? My industry is non-degree in Canada. I've talked about this in this channel. I've done a degree in quite a lot of jobs in my career. So my first job was actually in print media. I worked as a journalist in Botswana and when I lived in North Dakota as well. I had quite a few front page stories. I'm very proud of myself about that. And then afterwards, I actually started working in digital media. So I did a bunch of social media management jobs for, a few companies like museums and my university here in Canada. And then I sort of transition into the nonprofit world after a few years as an executive director of a nonprofit. So I would say that's my career or my industry. It's kind of hard to narrow down because I do quite a few things in my everyday life. But in terms of the Master's of Social Work degree, it's not something I have a lot of experience with, although I do work with social workers, and I work with them because I work in nonprofit and I work with people in human services, but I don't really know much about their education other than the fact that it's very competitive. But over the next few months, I'm hoping to bring in guest speakers on my channel to talk about their lives, their careers, and just provide advice to immigrants who are curious about certain career paths. So hopefully you subscribe to this channel so you are updated when that happens. This question is from Susie, and Susie says, thank you for the video. You're welcome. This question is from Susie. Is it possible to get a study visa approved with minimum proof of funds requested by the government of Canada to go study in Victoria? Or will more money be used to have the study permit approved, as it is a pretty expensive city? Short answer, no. I think in that video I showed that different provinces have different proof of funds requirements because the cost of living is very different depending on the province that you're moving to. So like you said, Victoria is really expensive, BC is really expensive. There's no specific proof of funds requirements for Victoria. It's like a specific requirements for all of BC and then Canada as a whole. So the fact that you're coming to Victoria, the government is not asking you to show more money, but you should have more money if you're coming to Victoria because Victoria is a more expensive city than like Saskatchewan, for instance. So it's just a more personal decision if you want to make sure that you show that. It's going to cost you a lot more to live here than to live in, some tiny town in Ontario, but the government does not require that. I think it's more of a personal decision. This question from Ria says, I've got a quick question. How much does it cost for a visitor to give birth in Canada? I have a video where I actually break down the cost of giving birth in Canada. I'll post a link up there. But short answer, depends on the type of birth. It depends on the hospital. It depends on the city you give birth in because those costs can really vary quite a lot depending on where you give birth. But check out that video on top. This question from Legend Human says, I'm a physiotherapist going to Canada in May. How is the demand? Well, I'm sure you're super excited to be moving to Canada in 3 months, fingers crossed. There is a lot of demand for physiotherapists in Canada. Physiotherapists are pretty awesome. I'm a physiotherapist myself. So in terms of the demand, there is quite a bit of that. The only thing that you need to be mindful of is that you will need to get certified in Canada. A quick Google search says that the average salary for a physio in BC, where I live, is about $65,000 per year. That's pretty good. The concern is just that you'll have to get licensed in BC to provide any services. I cannot provide any information about what the licensing process will look like. However, I will post a link to the College of Physiotherapists so you can find out more for yourself. That is it. I hope my answers to these questions were helpful to you. Feel free to comment below if there are more questions that you have about moving to Canada that I have not answered. I'll be doing a Q&A maybe once a month just to, wrap up all the questions I'm getting and making sure that it's as cohesive as possible. Like I mentioned, I can always type in-depth answers in the comment box, but keep typing your questions up there and I will answer them either in the chat box or in a video response. I hope you've liked and subscribed to my channel. I'm on that journey to 1,000 subscribers, so close. Thank you so much for watching and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.